for joining me on such a special day of my life. It is to get this far, to do what I'm doing here today. It means a lot, means a lot. So thank you everybody, thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank the traditional elders, past, present and emerging, of this place, of this land. I want to thank Mother Earth, because all I do is for the future of the planet. I want to thank all the children from all the lands, from all the places, and all the children that are here and now. What I do is for you as well. It's for the future. It's for the timeline when things will be different and we will no longer be here, but it's for the children and your future generations, yeah? So keep learning and growing and keep shining your light. So it is my book launch, sure. It's my book launch, 3 books. But it's so much more, you know. It's about all of this. That's what's evolved and what's happened in my life through life experience, and I'm here to serve, and I'm here to take us to world peace by being the example first. And join me, let's have a great time. It'll be very open, it'll be very connected. Please be at peace here, you're supported, okay, be comfortable. And I want to say thanks to Narelle, the starters, thank you for joining me. It means a lot you being here, okay? I respect your work and your journey and what you're all about. So everybody please connect to Narelle in future. Learn about what she does. She's a beautiful soul as well and has beautiful projects and things that she is working on. And to my brother here, Aaron, again, you're here and it means the world to me. I thank you. Thank you. Aaron and I go back to Cooper Darwin Wilderness out at Sanford, where we first met. And we've been beating the drum together. We've been sitting around peace fires for a while. Aaron's a beautiful man, has a beautiful soul. He's very passionate as well about service to others, about helping the planet. And when he heard that this was on, straight away he was here. He wanted to be a part of it, and thanks again, man. And look, and again, connect to Aaron for those that don't know him. Share your story as you beat the drum, and tell them a bit about you. And man, kick it off for us. Let's get it going, eh?
All right. Mi hermano Jorge. That's all the Spanish I've got except for okay, so I met George through Cooper Darwin, and he came out to be the guest speaker at the International Day of Peace maybe 3 times.
Yeah, a few years ago now,
A
yeah.
number of times, yeah. And so I've heard his manifesto, his Ode to Peace, and it captured my imagination, and I really resonate and connect with his message of peace. So like many people my age, I started on some sort of a path a while back, and I was looking for some happiness, or so I thought. And then as I started to discover peace, it was pretty interesting that happiness just followed along behind when the peace was sort of uncovered or picked apart or discovered. And so George has a vision of world peace, and then he usually follows it up in the very next breath with, and that starts sort of inside ourselves. And that's where I sort of trip over myself to come and say, good on you, George, you know, I believe in your message, I'm right beside you there, brother. You know, like, I'm here, I'm not a public speaker, I'm not a performer or an entertainer in any way. I just really appreciate and believe in George's message. So we met at Cooper Darwin. When I was fresh on my path, I came across this place called Cooper Darwin, and in the language, well, it's the Yagara language, spoken by the
elders, indigenous.
The
Yep.
Garrangar tribe, who are the traditional custodians of the particular plot they've got there at Mount Samson. is a place called Cooper Darwin, which means place of possums. And I was introduced to the place when I birthed my medicine drum. I don't think she's amongst the three that I have here today, but that started a connection with that place. And then I kept coming along, and then I met my friend George here. And so as part of Cooper Darwin, it's a place of possums. Where was I going with that? It's underneath the mountain, Burrung, which is Yarra Wind, Mount Samson. And Mount Samson was a meeting place for tribes from all over Australia. And so the stretch of land that they have on the Garanga area is like a no man's land. It's like a lot of places you need to ask permission, or there's different laws about you can't go here, you can't walk there, you can't be seen with this other tribe in this land, etc., etc., except for this place. It's kind of a no man's land because it's a highway through to this meeting place. And so it was kind of coincidental that our mutual friend Maureen set up Cooper Darwin as a place for intertribal multicultural gatherings. So there was a lot of Native American influence there, hence the birthing of the medicine drums, which is another way that George and I were able to connect out there. And I'm sure he'll tell you the story of his drum. Mm-hmm. But for me, drumming in a circle out of Cooper Darwin is anything but musical. I shouldn't say that, should I? It's anything but performative. It's like George's book, the title of George's first book. In another lifetime, I'd probably run away, going, oh no, JC's not for me. But religion and organised religion is people coming together. People coming together in search of peace, in search of togetherness, in search of doing something wonderful for the world from the bottom of their hearts in a unified, together kind of way. And so, luckily, I really enjoyed reading your book, George.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
I have a renewed.
Oh,
take a seat. Take a seat. So.
Hola, viejo chico, you made it. Bien, bien.
So here we have a medicine drum. This one's goat skin. I birthed this one with my mum, with the help of my daughter in New Zealand. Each drum, as we birth it, has intention set into it. So this particular one, this has my children and my little Tina, Dominique, Ruby.
Nice, mate, nice.
And me, and I'm in there as well. So this is the family drum. Sorry. This one's my daughter's drum, Dominique. So she birthed this one when she went to visit my mum and her great-grandmother in New Zealand. And so she's written in there grannies, travelling, connection, and service, because she was helping out with the drumming over there. So this is my daughter's drum. This one. This one was my mum's first drum. So she's, my mother, I brought the drums to her accidentally. I had intended to bring some drums over so that we could play, but it wasn't happening and we couldn't make it happen. We were worried about customs, etc. So I sent her over a copy of the jig to make the hoops, and now she facilitates drum making workshops most weekends as these things happen. So this is one of my mum's first drums.
Beautiful.
Connection, peace. And so as we're building our drum, we know where the journey wants to take us before we really get started. We put the intention in there, and then when we beat our drum, the connection comes back to whatever it was for, or, well, it works in all different ways. That's a much different sound. If you don't think you want to play, just pass it on back. Someone will like how to play.
Ho!
A hoe. So
Cool.
it's a can of worms when you start down the road, and a lot of people won't, and it's safe not to, honestly, because it can, it's a lot of work. I mean, they say doing the work on the path. I mean, maybe it's just words that we say, but doing work means, something hard and difficult that needs to be done for an outcome, something not play, something not easy, something that involves getting gritty and looking at parts of oneself that you would rather not admit were there. And Ramdas told a story about a woman who would walk to work every morning in the city on the subway, and she would walk past a homeless man. And he'd sit there with his little paper cup with a few coins in it. And each morning, she would say good morning, give him a little bit of money, and on she would go. And it got to the point where she was doing this for so long that she worked out a budget for him. So $10 a week that she would give to this guy. And she felt pretty good about doing that. Okay, so she'd opened her heart up just that little bit, and that's fantastic, that's perfect. But she said that she had come to realize that she didn't see him as a human being, as a person. And she was afraid to go any further than just saying hello and dropping a couple of coins in the cup. Now, she wasn't afraid of catching his disease or being mugged and raped by him or anything. It turns out she was afraid that if she got to know him, he would end up on her couch, because she would open her heart and not be able to say no. And well, that's dead right. I mean, it's hard to go look at puppies in the shelter and not take them all home. And when you go and look, and see things as they are, it is a scary prospect. And it's the same as us. Like every character in my dream is me, right? So I'm walking past me, who's a homeless person on the street, and I give myself just a little bit of love, you know. But I'm afraid to open my heart so much that version of myself is sleeping on my bloody couch, you know. And it is a really difficult prospect, and it is hard. But that's where the peace in my heart comes from. And so with the peace, then comes the happiness. And it's true, like, whenever the last war was on that I was paying attention to the news, I think Russia v Ukraine. His book.
Thanks, Aaron.
So I love you very much, George.
Oh, me too, man. Thanks for your honesty, man, and your truth, eh? That's what it's about. Acceptance.
Right on, bro. All right, take it away.
Okie doke. Thank you, Aaron. Kind words and truthful words. Honesty, truth. The highest place to own, being truth to yourself. For how can you measure? How can you assess? How can you be the best version of yourself if you aren't being truthful with yourself? Truth is the highest vibration. Truth is what will get us home. Truth. So that's what I'm big on promoting, you know, the world peace, the peace, as Aaron has described it for his personal journey. But peace needs to start from within, from our hearts. The more we go within, the more we will co-create. A lot of us look for the answers to world peace, you know, to conflict, to crimes, to injustices, to relationship issues, to addictions, everything else externally. We buy into it too, you know. We look at our socials for advices, we'll turn on the TV for the systematic response. Yet I'm here to remind you that you need to go within. All the answers are always within you, but you need to slow down and give yourself that time to shut out the external, the distractions, and where all the truth is within. Be honest with this, with the heart. The heart knows all, but yet a lot of people avoid it. So I'm here just to give you a gentle reminder to again go within, go within. If you want peace out there, begin with the peace in here. The peace in here. So that's what I've explored. That's what I've been growing through a lifetime now of learning. For if we don't learn, we will redo the lesson. True. So learn to grow, learn to flow, learn to be the best version of yourself. The best version, and the more we can go within and the more peace we can find within our hearts, the greater this place and this environment will be, because it needs to start with all of us. And I'm here just to remind us to bring all of us together. All of us together can unite and we can achieve this. We can have a whole new humane civilization if we all come together for world peace. Absolutely. I guarantee you it is possible. But it's not for me, the world peace. I have the peace. I find the peace. It's for our children, like I said. Everything I do, it's for the future generations. It's for the children, here and now. It's for our Mother Earth, our nature, which depends on us. She doesn't charge us anything, but she gives us our environment. She gives us everything. Step outside, breathe the air. Look at her nature. Look at the bird life. Look at the growth. Spend time in nature, ground, anchor. It's free, guys. The most simple things in life are free. And it's our nature that we need to nurture. Grow with our nature, look after our Mother Earth, guide our children. For when we adults are gone, it's their place. So it's our responsibility, is it not? It's our responsibility to look after our children, to give them good examples, to show them the light. So that's my next book, World Peace. We can have a whole new... That's my next book I'm working on now. So I better talk about the others, eh? Maybe. Yeah, wow. Jesus Christ shares, soul loving you, and my way. Yeah, all deep journeys for me, you know, and I wrote just because it was dear to my heart, because again, that's how I grew, that's how I evolved, you know, and I understood life, and I wrote a lot for myself. As a young man, as a kid, I used to have a typewriter at mum's, the old-fashioned typewriters, and I was in my teens and I used to type away. And I've always been a poet at heart, you know. I had a lot of love which just resonated inside, you know, just grew, evolved. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering along the way. But, you know, I've always been a poet at heart, and I've expressed myself in my writing, which meant the world to me because that was my release. And that's what we all need to find, a safe release, and teach our children a safe environment so they can release as well. Safety and security, which I'm big on as well, and I talk about in other circles, in my other work, and what I do day in and day out. Safety, security, but releasing it. So teach the young minds, you know, and that's what I did through my own approach, you know. It wasn't shown, it was just understood, you know. And a poet from way back, and that's Soul Loving You, that has writings and poetry from when I was a kid to now, and it's all the love in my soul that is there, you know, different journeys along the way where I literally stopped and wrote that piece of poetry, where I was impacted by that loss, by that love. But it's a journey, you know. All these books have taken me deep places, you know. Jesus Christ Shares was at a pivotal time in my life. So it was when I moved on from a conceived idea from a timeline of emergency services when I was a police officer. So I've been a police officer for 10 years. I was from 2002 to 2012. A proud service, a proud time in my life. And as I say to everybody by now, I've seen it all in triplicate, seen it all. No surprises, and you know, a very, very worthy, you know, job to have, to do. But you know, the point is that I started to outgrow it, you know, and I understand that now with the whys ahead, you know, why I had to do things different. And look at where I am now, you know. I couldn't have done it without letting go of that. So I was a police officer for 10 years, general duties, investigative work, instructed officers. I did this as well even back then, you know. I'd talk to officers, I'd train officers, you know. Never thought I'd be doing this though, talking about books and, you know, world peace. No, it wasn't in there at the time. And then, you know, when through transitioning in a portion of your life, and often a lot of people will reflect and say to you that there's a lot of trauma, there's an impact in life that takes you away from a path to a new one. And a lot of people go kicking and screaming. No, we don't want to let go, we resist the change. But often that's the good change that we need, you know, that we don't see. So for me, absolutely the change that I needed was to go back into my community in a different way, not just an emergency reactive model, which you never continue through. You never continue to have that chat with that person. You never get to see that vulnerability behind that superficial representation, you know. And that's the trouble with our society and community and a lot of our work out there at the forefront, that it's too stringent, it's too quick, and we don't make time for this, to just sit down and talk to people. So for me, I'm grateful that then I got to reintegrate into community, and I've done a lot of work in my community fields already, and this is my passion for young people, which you can feel and hear because I've been a youth worker. I worked in crisis care with young people, you know. That's something, man, after hours, picking up kids on the street, you know. I tell you what, it takes a lot to do, and it takes you somewhere, you know. And for me, to this day, I connect to all the children, you know, and I pick people up, you know, because everybody needs help and support, especially our children. So, you know, I've done all that work. I've done resi care work. I've worked with the most difficult kids in the most challenging of environments, you know, and then I've worked in prisons, the most violent places, you know, forensic prisons to youth detention centres, high turnovers, you see. But the point is that I haven't changed. I've grown, and I see the importance of peace, you know, of embodying it and of picking people up, helping each other along the way. I've learnt that, you know, and I couldn't have that opportunity without doing this before to this way now, you know, and that's where Jesus Christ shares came in, you know, through my transitions, through reflections, and I've become a very spiritual man, you know, and that book just poured out of me literally in a couple of weeks, and it was very guided, you know. But yes, how and why? Well, I've connected to the Christ light, you know. I am not an embodiment. I'm not here to say at all that I am anything more than just a person and a man, you know. But the point is that I connected to a greater expression in the Christ light, which once you do, guess what? There's no going back. There's no going back. If you've authentically experienced Christ's light, there's no going back. And for me, I have, you know, I've experienced something beyond me. It's called spirituality. It's called higher knowing, growth. But the point is that that book took me somewhere as well, you know, and within a couple of weeks, just flowed out of me, you know, and it's got, the first part is 40 days of teachings, 40 days of teachings of growth for the person. Every day is a lesson, which you can do in your own way. You know, you start with the book, and it's a reflection, you know. Step into day one, it's called heaven on earth, so you can just take yourself into your own state of being and connect to yourself by going to your place of safety. And that's what heaven on earth offers you in day one, a good starting point to reflect on yourself and to go with the book, go with the start, go to safety, go to peace. That's day one, you know. Then you go into the other days, and you will come into other parts of awakening, where you begin to awaken and manifest all you can be by going within yourself. That's another teaching, awakening to, you know, exoneration. Wow, exoneration. Let's exonerate each other. It's called forgiving. That's a huge teaching in the book too. Because how can we move forward? How can we do things better if we're not ready to forgive? And what Christ always speaks about is forgiveness. Starting with yourself. Do unto others as you wish done unto you. Guiding principle. Forever. Forever. Do unto others as you'd expect done unto you. Yeah? Isn't that fair? Isn't that right? I think so, you know. So that's what I embody and I take with me, you know. How could I treat anybody less than what I expect for my mother's care, for my sister's care, for my daughter's care? And once you embody, you become a greater expression. We can all do it better for all the women in our community. If we talk about the motherhood, the sisters, the aunties. And then you just amplify, and then it's the children, it's the sons, it's the brothers, And they're all interconnected. See, so do unto others as you wish it be done unto you. So exoneration, so forgive by starting by forgiving yourself. Forgive your wrongs. Forgive whatever you've done. Forgive it. It's okay. It's all right. You know, there's no manual in this life deal. There's no manual at all. No one says this is how you have to do it. So if you make mistakes along the way, I'm here to remind you that it's okay. It's all right. Forgive yourself and all is forgiven. I forgive you. I will always forgive you. Exoneration. Love. Another teaching. Wow. 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 This love thing. Wow, you know. Yeah, let's chuck it on an emoji. Love. Wow. Let's display it. Oh, love, love. Unconditional love. The highest vibration on the planet. Why are we struggling? Why is there conflict? Why is there miscommunication at times? Because of a lack of love. The highest vibration, and there's only two, love or fear. What happens consistently in our society? Where do people fluctuate? In and out. Hey, did he just look at me that way? Oh. Reaction, defensive, fear. Unconditional love, the highest vibration. If we go for a place of true love, which again was Jesus' teachings, Christ's way is love. Love is the greatest solution to everything. It's the only solution. Love, because if you see the defect, if you see the fault, if you see the injustice in that person, in that situation, as your own, as you, how could you not love it? How could you not find the love? I can, and I do. So love, everybody, love like it's your child. Love like it's your last moment. Love like that's all you know. And again, the more love we spread and the more we share in this harmony of love, of joy, of compassion, because attributes come with it. Love, joy, compassion, forgiveness, acceptance, on and on. Fear, down here, fear. Darkness, conflict, exclusion. See what I mean? So, love, very big teaching as well, you know. And, you know, another one, it's 40 days of teaching, so I'm just sharing a few, but another important one is letting go, you know. Letting go. Wow. Letting go of what? What do we need to let go of? Why? How come? Well, letting go means you're not bound by anybody, that you're not bound by anything, that you're not restricted. And that's where it comes into play in our own environments. You know, too often we need to ask for permission. We need to second guess ourselves. It's like we're asking for an authority for what we want to do. So let go of that, and most importantly, let God. Let go and let God. So as a spiritual man, when I say spiritual, yes, it is God fundamentally that I connect with, the God energy, the life force, the spirit, call it whatever you want. God, Allah, Buddha, spirit. It's all a manifestation beyond us, you know, because there is a life force, right? Isn't there something else to all this? Isn't there? And I mean, I get it if you don't believe in God, if it's not your thing, that's fine. I'm not here to judge anybody. I didn't once. I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God. True. Because I'm here to share with you my truth as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We're all just growing and doing each other as best we can. Okay? So yeah, I didn't. And for me back then it was about self-centered, more about the ego, you know. So it was like I was expecting a reward, that I had to see it, that I had to taste it, you know. Quick and easy approaches to life. Oh, no. I got to see him. I want you to show me right now, God. You know, this demanding, this systematic approach, which what is it in the end? For me, it was the ego. The ego which is driving you and taking you through your life. And I talk about a bit about the ego because I've seen it. I've known the ego too. I've lived through the ego. And a lot of people still do. So just be mindful of your ego and master your ego, master yourself. Because some people don't even realize they're living through their ego. True. Oh, this is what I'm doing, this is my life pursuit. Rah. Is it? When it's all about you, guess what? Bingo. So, letting go and letting God. My approach for now is very spiritual, believing in God in another place, and I've seen it, I've been shown it, so this is my reason. That's why I am sharing a bigger picture and a bigger place we can all get to. Not just me, all of us. I want all of us to get there. That's what I'm big on. The collective society, my community, all of us. And again, the children. All of this, as I say, is for the children. So it's important that we all get there. So, and for me, being spiritual, being kind-hearted, being compassionate, being caring, watching over our women is so important, you know. So that's a bit of Jesus Christ Shares, and I want to share the final part of that book because it's very powerful, and that's what very much invoked a lot of the transitioning for me. Ernst, could you bring me the Jesus Christ Shares book, please, mate? Oh, man. Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, we're going for time. Yeah, 1:45. The Oath for Peace. I had glasses. Here we go. Here we go. I've just put them on. Now look, the Oath for Peace, eh? This is huge, and this is what my mate Aaron was talking about, because it was this oath that took me much deeper again, and it's in Jesus Christ Shares, the final part of the book, the Oath for Peace. I make this oath for peace to become a universal ambassador for peace on planet Earth, for all I am, for all I have, for all I can be. I make this oath for peace now, for all life. May life coexist in harmony, compassion and love. May life be respected as I wish to be respected. May all life be at peace. I make this oath for peace now for the planet, for all communities and their spaces, for all members and people and all races, and all inclusive of individuals' rights, beliefs, cultures, religions, faiths and freedoms. I make an oath for peace now, for I know it is required. May I be the way for others. May I be the way for me. May I be the one I have been waiting for. I make an oath for peace now for all higher knowledge and wisdom. Together we can. Unconditional love and universal peace. This is the way forward. I take this oath for peace now. George Videla. That's the oath for peace, and yeah, I share that, and I always get emotional, man, you know, because that's the purpose, you know. That's my purpose, you know, understanding who you are, what your purpose is when you have your self-realization, which is also in Jesus Christ Shares, having your own realization to life and what it is you're supposed to be doing. Well, for me, I know, you know, and it's about peace. So that oath for peace to this day takes me somewhere. It takes me deep, and I encourage everybody out there to adopt the Oath for Peace, as you can see it on my messages, on my YouTube channel, at the International Peace Day events where we go to with Aaron. The Oath for Peace is at the forefront, and it's my vision to one day have it everywhere, you know, for our children, for our schools. Because if we teach peace, the result is peace. So the Oath for Peace, that's in Jesus Christ Shares, the final part. We're going for time, 1:45. And I might just talk a bit about soul loving you, and we'll have a break, eh? Does anybody need a toilet break now, or stretch the legs, or a couple of push-ups? No? Yeah? Toilet? Yeah. To the side there. Under Talshon, that way. Under, te esperamos. Rest in peace. And as I often have, you know, I've been there at people's last moments, and Des and I would beat this drum. I would go visit him. And it was the last drum he made, you know, so yeah, it's a beautiful drum. And again, I always connect with it very lovingly, and I send a message of peace every time I beat it. So soul loving you. So like I said, I was a poet. I've always been a poet at heart since I was a kid. And okay, yes, I did like Shakespeare, reciting Shakespeare at school when no one else did. Romeo and Juliet, yep. He jests at scars that never felt a wound, but soft what light through yonder window breaks. I still remember some of it. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, and none but see, it comes and goes. But Shakespeare, Macbeth. Is this a dagger I see before me, the handle towards my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. So I got into poetry, you know. It took me a place from hearing it. It wasn't just about reciting it and it's boring. Like for me, it took me somewhere, you know. It was impactful from a young age, poetry. And yeah, I would write, you know, like the typewriter. Mum got me a typewriter when I was young, and I would write, you know. I would type away, I would scribble notes, short stories, but a lot of it was soulful, was love, you know. And that was about the love along the way, my soul's love that was continued, you know, and that's what you can really feel in all those pages, you know. It takes you to love's ultimate design, you know, to meeting love, to having the love of your life, and all those expressions that are in there, beautiful expressions of moments of paradise, to also loss and grieving the love and losing love and what that actually means, you know, on a soulful level. Very beautiful, you know, so loving you, very impactful. And also I've got in there, in a part, I've got all my typewritten poetry from, I'm talking about like 30 years ago. And because I kept it, a lot of it, and it's been produced, I've put it back into that book in a part of it. And it's powerful, you know, some of my writings, even as a young kid, then exploring life and love and what it meant. It's all in there. And I've also got different adaptations. The Keys to My Heart is in there as well, another chapter. The Keys to My Heart, and it was when I'd do a lot of journeying, you know, I found time to write. And when I would go to the scenic rim areas, you know, Boona, and I would just find a way to just then release and connect, and a lot of the keys to my heart are in there, and it's about self-journeying, about what love ultimately looks like for the self when you come across it, how to hang on to it, how to lose it, then get it back again. But it's powerful. It's powerful. Soul loving you is very deep again. And any page in there you open up to has wonderful poetry, wonderful love, and every depiction there, every image there is very connected to me, you know, from the beach sides there. But even that, it's an expression of love, you know, as you can see it coming through there. Jesus Christ shares the light coming through, the rays. The build-up, we're coming to my father's book, My Way, and the greater message in the book there, My Way, is to support all survivors and victims of cancer, of terminal illnesses, which to this day I keep doing. You know, I keep being there at the crossroads of people that I've met, that I'm meeting. It just happens. It happens, you know. I've been there with a lot of people as they've crossed over. I've been there with animals, continually, animals and nature. I choose not to ignore life, see? I choose to give back, so I've been there. A lot of the times it's just a calling, see? So I've helped a lot of animals for years, all sorts of animals, all sorts of stories, to all sorts of people, from family to friends to strangers, you know. I worked for a period of time at the Coronial Support Unit as well. And I saw a lot there as well, you know. For a long time I've been around it, you know, people transitioning. And it's good to have someone there that you feel safe with, that respects you, respects your loved one, and would treat your loved one like it was their loved one. So that's what I learned from a young age, you know, from my uncle, an uncle of mine that I helped prepare for a funeral when I was younger. And then, you know, you're led to these other places, and then that's what I did a lot of at the Coronial Support Unit. You know, I was involved with a lot of the victims that came through our floods, the last huge floods we had in Brisbane, Queensland, from Toowoomba to Grantham. They all came through when I was working there. Not to mention, just as a police officer, you know, you see everything in triplicate, like I said. But it's important, you know. I felt from a young age that person was important, that's somebody's loved one. So that's what I teach, see, that's what I see. You have to be respectful to all living beings, to all nature, but also those that are crossing over. There is no difference, see. So that's what I do as well. So, and my way is about my father's journey and his care and his message, powerful message. But we'll get into that one. What I might do, why don't we just have a break, have a stretch? I appreciate you have been sitting for a while there. And I'm waiting for one more to arrive. So if we could just have a short break, if that's cool. I might. Their sacrifices, I wouldn't be here. Subsequently, my kids, and so on and so on. You know, the extensions of us are always through an origin. You know, so I'm always acknowledging my own ancestors spiritually, but also the living. And yes, my origins are from Chile. I was born, oh geez, okay, long time ago. There was a political uprising, there was chaos, you know, very sad times in the Chilean country, which caused a lot of Chileans to disband and have to leave their nation. And I know there's some beautiful Chileans here joining me tonight who have experienced a similar fate. And it's a consequence of political problems, of wars that to this day are continuing to exist and affect people. And it impacts, man, it impacts, you know. It produces a whole byproduct, you know, when you talk about an intergenerational trauma, when we talk of this country, well, we're reminded also of the traumas for the other nations, you know, and every nation has a trauma, has a background story. And for us in Chile, it was back in '73. As I looked there at Nelson Mandela, a great human rights activist, and his story, well, I'm reminded of Salvador Allende, the president Salvador Allende, who sacrificed everything and then his life. And he was the president then, democratically elected to power in Chile. And all that ended overnight, pretty much, after leading, you know, government for a couple of years. And it caused a lot of Chileans to subsequently leave because it was a dark time in the country. To this day, they haven't found a lot of Chileans. And this is true, this is our history, and we must acknowledge our past to move forward. We must recognize the sacrifices of our elders. So the point of it all is that I always recognize my mother, who's still here with me, and my father, because without their sacrifices, I would not be possible, and my children now. So yeah, I want to really acknowledge them and everything they've done. But it came and it was fostered because of this dark time in a country. And yeah, so my father decided then, as a proud man and wanting his young son and his marriage to have the best opportunity. So it was like, let's come to Australia, let's do it. And they came to Australia for a new beginning. You know, wow. How many people actually do that in a lifetime? Can you actually recognize it? And again, when we talk about world peace, when we talk about sacrifice and love, how many actually sacrifice everything they've known for someone else, you know? And that's what my parents did. They left everything behind to give their son a new opportunity, which was myself. So thank you, my dear mother, my father. And it's important for all of us to recognize our backgrounds, our stories, however dark they are at times, however challenging. Go within, recognize your own truth. And empowering is sharing it and growing through it. Okay? Because that's life. That's life. We're all here for different reasons. By recognizing our past. So I acknowledge my father, my mother. But you know, it was my father, and we arrived here in '74. The old Arthur Gorrie prison here on the Ipswich Highway wasn't there back then. It was a hostel, an immigrant hostel back then, where a lot of Chileans arrived. A lot of immigrants from across the world were there, you know. That's where we arrived, my parents, and a lot of other Chileans as well. And there was flights of them subsequently after, but we were one of the first ones that arrived here in Brisbane. And 2 suitcases, my mother with me in her arms. Yeah, like I said, who's done such a thing? And then there are those to this day that actually criticize and judge immigrants, people that are coming for another nation. For what? I can guarantee you, it's for a better future. So walk a mile in their shoes, do unto others as you would have unto do. And it's not hard to see why people choose to leave a war-torn nation, to leave, war behind. So that's my background, and I recognise that, and my father put us on the map, He left a background which was highly professional. He was a draftsman in Chile, my father. He worked for the telephone company in Chile back then, La Compañía de Teléfono, which was national. And a lot of Chileans that worked there disappeared as well, and all sorts of things happened. So my father, after he experienced some harsh treatment as well, he decided, let's get out. So we arrived here, and he started working soon, and never achieved the accolade, never achieved his profession again, never, all left behind, from rocking up with a suit and a tie, which he earned, he'd studied. Never went back to that, and he then took any job he could do. A lot of labour, a lot of hard hours, unloading freight trains, working in galvanising plants, which I actually worked in as well when I was older. In steel industry, which a lot of Chileans worked in as well. But those were the stories. That was the physical labour, the background, the hard work ethic where I come from, because there was no shortcuts, there was no handouts, and not that I'm against it, but this is our story that I'm sharing with you, and I've got the best example in him and in my mother, because they never took a backward step. They kept working. And my mother also, she sacrificed, she started working as well. Hard jobs, man, hard jobs, and raising me, between both of them doing shifts. A lot of pain, man. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of tears, And that's the sacrifice that has to be acknowledged, and I'm here to remind myself of that sacrifice before me, and it even gives me more purpose why I want to head to this, because they deserve it as much as the young children, those that have sacrificed before us and put their life on the line, who have lost their identity, who have travelled from faraway lands, it's as much for them as anybody too. So my father worked, man, he worked hard, he worked hard, and we grew up initially in Brisbane a little bit, but then it was Ipswich. Fundamentally, this is my community, man, Ipswich. I've grown up in it as a kid. I went to school here, high school. I got a lot of mates to this day, and I've worked around the place. And around all the work and the upbringing with my family, it was football, the love for football, soccer, the world game, football. And there was a club back then called South Star, and it's disbanded now, unfortunately, but a lot of us do remember it and know it that are here. Beautiful time and beautiful memories. It was the only Chilean football club that ever existed, South Star FC. And it was founded by a lot of these elders, these Chileans, with a hope and a prayer. That's all it was, hope and a prayer. No funding, not a lot of infrastructure, not a lot of sponsors, nothing, but hey, community, true community. That's what kept it going, A lot of brotherhood, sisterhood, a lot of sacrifice in there. The players, there's one there I can see, And we had good times, man, good memories, But that was at Willawong, on Bow Hill Road, Willawong, which is now the Gaelic Football Club. But there was a Chilean football club behind there, We played there for a number of years. I played there, and that was my love as well for the world game. And often our days, our weekends would be with football, with Dad at the forefront. And, and there's, if you buy the book, as you look through some memorabilia at the end, there's images there of some of those days, And that's at beside the St. Mark's Primary School. There's still an oval there. And it's got an Indigenous centre there now as well, but the fields there was a club there as well, Chile America. And this is a depiction of a time there. There's me and Dad, back from those times. So football, sport, which is healthy. I always encourage young people to play sport Again, it's release, it's healthy. But that's how we grew up, around sport, and my father playing sport and working, a healthy lifestyle. He's early days, so that's him as I was talking to you as a draftsman. Again, another in his suit and tie, good-looking rooster he was. And there's him and Mum. Okay, that's on their wedding day, Mum. And there's my granddad as well on Dad's side. And a very, tough upbringing, for both these men, and I acknowledge that too. And my lineage is sacrifice too. My grandfather there, Dad's dad, orphan. Okay, orphan. As a kid growing up on the streets. That's our background, man. So it's powerful, and I know a lot of those stories, and I share some of these stories in the book, But that's my background on Dad's lineage, on Dad's side. It's very tough, and it's the men that kept it going, for the sons and daughters. Dad was one of 3 brothers and 8 sisters, but it was his father that sacrificed for them. And it's a mining background, I come from a mining background in Chile. Again, I share some of the places there, Galetones, Seul. They call that the city in the sky, because it's a mining, one of a kind. It's now heritage listed, but it was a mining camp up in the Andes Mountains, and exclusive for the miners and families to live in. Then you had to catch a train down for kilometers down to come into township, Galetones, de Rancagua. But these are the areas, when it had snow there, it would be like up to here in snow. So very tough upbringing, very challenging times, but also very beautiful, And it's these stories, man, that I grew up with, I know all these Chilean stories, and I value them, and, my way, he was my best mate, and I stuck by him, and I did my best, which again I encourage you always to go beyond your limits. You never know your limits until you're tested, and in those days and in those times, it's not easy. And as I explain in the book, the primary carer, those that are around someone that, because my father became terminally ill with cancer, and it's also those around them that get impacted, particularly the primary carer. So, but you never know what you're capable until you're tested. So go within that and own it, and be genuine and be loving and be peaceful, and you'll have a better journey, Leave it all out there. Leave it all out there. And that's what I did through his time. I left it all out there. I got it all out. Release, connect, be genuine, okay? Because our time here is only short, guys. It's not a long time we're here for. So make the most of your times. So fast forwarding to Dad's cancer days, which is the part of the book and his journey, but also to, support victims and survivors as to this day. I see them, and I was at the Ipswich Hospital, the oncology ward just the other day. And guess what, guys? It's still happening. It's everywhere. And but he was diagnosed with his bowel cancer, which is one of the leading causes of cancers in Australia. Bowel cancer and breast cancer, the 2 biggest ones. So get the checkups. I encourage you. It's about early recognition and awareness. That's what I promote here and at work. Get your screening, get your checkups. By the time my father got checked up, it was kind of too late, and he had to go under the knife. He got operated. This was back in 2016, and they removed, a fist-sized tumour, bowel cancer. And they gave him, the life expectancy. You go to those places that no one wants to hear, but again, just do it. You've got to be there as the primary carer, support, be loving, be peaceful. And they said life expectancy 2 years. He lasted 3. So fantastic, we got more out of him. He got more from his life. But it's about the quality of life then, when you look at it, somebody who's terminally ill, you want them to have the best quality of life possible. Okay, so that's what I became really invested, and it was around my work, my son's sport, and his days in chemo treatment, in and out of hospital, and then just quality of life. So again, what do we do around sport, right? And going out and watching movies, which we were always big about, our movies. And I talk about in there about, his journey. I talk about some of his personal stuff, which you can read in your own time, about the circle of life, what that actually means to have a circle of life, the infinite path. And it gets a bit heavy in parts, but it's very honest and raw. I share a very personal story about crossing over as well, because I was there with Dad when he did. Very privileged to have. And then just a reminder that loss and grieving for anything, for anybody, is your journey. When you connect to somebody, anybody, a relationship, a person, even property that you get connected, like it's yours. So the loss, the grieving is yours. Don't ever let anybody take how you feel away from you. And I've got a lot of spirituality in here, and across it, guess what came to us and what connected me, particularly in those final moments with that, it was Christ. Very deliberate, and I share that in here. Very deliberate. He answered the call as I called on him. So again, connect to spirit. If you believe, if you experience, you will grow. But yeah, it was very beautiful experiences I've had, and I've got here a passage, I want to share as well. It's called I Am That I Am. Powerful, the language of I am. So when you're looking after yourself, when you're recognizing who you are, empower yourself, you say I am. And I always say this, and I promote it as a peer support worker, as a counsellor, which I have been. It's affirmations, being positive, but I am. Say to yourself, I am healthy, I am happy, I am peaceful. It is I am. I am. You're giving yourself power. So, but this is a passage which again I connected to a long time ago. I just want to share it with you. It's called I Am That I Am. Ancient days, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sebaoth, translates, its old scripture, translates to holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. I am that I am the way, I am all there is. I express myself through you as I am. There is no other. I am not formed, I am beyond form. I am which gives body to all life. I am one with all life. I am oneness. In the understanding of who I am, you will find yourself, and in yourself, I am. Be clothed with the spirit of my wholeness. I am with you and in you and through you. I am the creator and the created. I am the unknown. You were conceived in light. Through your God self, you must be the light. Powerful, powerful. And there's images of us, Mum and I, with Dad when he was getting chemo. Us at the movies. A lot of reflection, Powerful messages about releasing. And I have some of the nurses here and some of their stories which they looked after him and they were happy for me to share. And that's why I returned to the Ipswich Hospital not too long ago and shared the book with them. And I ran into two of the nurses that are still working there. So amazing, amazing. And And yeah, as you continue to the back, which is about after the crossing over part, which is powerful, I'll let you read that. But it's a very personal story of the Christ light coming to our aid and answering my call. Beautiful, beautiful. And just more images at the end. Dad's history of Dad's last birthday there. With my mates, schoolmates to this day, we're mates. Oh, Vinny and Nath. And that's us at a bit of a family Easter get together with the boys, my nephews. He loved them so dearly, you know. And still does to this day, I'm sure, you know. And then, you know, you go on your own journey, and for me it was about the continual support. Like, I've always supported others, you know. When I reflect on my life, I've always done more and more, which now I get my calling, you know. But what did I start doing then? I started supporting cancer events, and I did the Climb for Cancer for 2 years in a row. That's when I was volunteering as a Rural Fire Brigade officer. And then, well, that was 2019, and the first one was in 2018 at the Watermark Tower in Brisbane. And that was something I started doing. I started to connect as well to all sufferers of terminal illnesses and to children as well. I did a couple of things for the Martyr children. There's us playing around for Christmas. I dress up as Santa. I dress up, you know. But guys, you know, there's a lot of good stuff, and then there's very good health services in the end there for anybody suffering from cancer and early detection, or knows of somebody, refer them. There's good referrals there. There's good systems in place. And yeah, you know, my way, dedicated to my father George's life journey, and for all terminally ill victims and survivors of cancer. So my father was integral to us coming to Australia. It's his example that we all follow in our own makeup, and I'm here to say to my boys, my nephews, my son, and also the girls in the family, my daughter, my wife, and all of you, that life is ongoing, life is what you make it, and that if we come together, if we keep uniting in good faith, in trust and in faith, we will have a humane civilization and world peace as a result. Absolutely. So look at that, 6 o'clock, wow. Lots of love, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.